Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Back, Fuchs, and the ball in behind Damian Vardy! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy!
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand?
Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
Feet after a fabulous start. The game just got away from you there.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say about the game at all.
Drama from day one! This is the league we want to watch!
3, 2, 1, we're live. Hank, how's it going? Good to see you here.
Oh, dude. Great week, because just a great, fantastic birthday week.
Yes.
Filled with exciting times. And you know what? Now that it's over, some people might be doom and gloom. For me, it's just another step closer. Just another step closer, August 13th.
Oh, I thought you were talking about death.
Oh, no. I mean, if anything, it's the opposite death. It's the beginning of a
The
new Premier League
celebration of
season.
life. The new
yeah.
Premier League season.
Exactly. Well, we got some news.
We got some news. Things are happening.
Yeah, things are happening in a short amount of time before the season starts. Not a ton of time for teams to get business done, but
yeah, it's gonna be heating up even more.
yeah, within the next week or two. But we'll start off with the biggest news. Jadon Sancho picks number 25.
I like how it apparently it wasn't completely official until like a couple days ago.
Oh yeah, about all that. I think the problem is probably the add-ons. They had to get that stuff scored away because they probably agreed to the initial fee of about 80 euros.
They announced him like 3 weeks ago.
They probably just agreed in principle. What are you gonna do? They had to get excited. All right.
Paperwork,
Not that we know anything about
that sort of stuff.
We'll start off one of the bigger signings for a newly promoted side.
Yeah, making some moves.
Yeah, Christopher Aher from Celtic, the Norwegian defender. Versatile, to say the least. He can play. He's normally a center back for him. A little taller, but not as immovable, I guess, or immobile. Immobile as, say, like a Vestergaard kind of guy.
Yeah, I was actually doing some research on him. I was watching some film. Mm-hmm. He's like listed as like 6'5". So
yeah,
he's a tall guy. But he likes to dribble, and
he's quick side to side compared to what you'd think for a 6'5" center back.
Yeah, and he like puts on techers, and he's like trying to join up with the attack. So I'm already like, this is my guy.
Yes, Brentford's the new club.
Yeah.
Were you secretly watching and hoping, you're like, oh man, if Leeds could have got him?
No, more like Brighton partner up with Dan Burn.
Ooh, that would have been
very tall.
Yes. have a back line. Everyone's average height is like 6'4".
It's hard to say though. Like I was watching these YouTube highlight reels.
Yes.
And their terrible music and whatnot. I don't know if he looks like really good and
because it's the Scottish League.
Or if it's just the Scottish League and it's one of those YouTube highlight films. But it seems like it's a good signing. £13.5 million is the reported number.
It's solid, especially for a 23-year-old. I mean, I'll give him time to grow at the club and stuff. And look, we've seen a couple teams go to the Scottish League, go to that well, and it's worked out for him with a few of these guys. Obviously, the first guy comes to mind is going to be Van Dijk.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I like that move by Brentford. And you keep your other center backs, and you're just going to have them as depth pieces, and you're getting younger and better.
Yeah. I also found out he supposedly was the youngest ever footballer to captain a team in the Norwegian top flight.
How about that?
15 he's a leader.
16.
adding to the dressing room.
Yeah.
It's always good to have guys like that.
Yeah, and they still have, guys who've been around the block in terms of leadership too. So even though he might be able to kind of captain, kind of organize the back, and just the team in general, he'll still have guys like Pontius Janssen and stuff to help him out. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, this just kind of kicks off the trend. Looking at all the stuff that's going on, it's mostly guys that are like 23 or 24 years old.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like almost all the rumors we're looking at, it's guys that are in that age range.
Yeah, guys, teams trying to get a little younger. I mean, not everyone's Burnley, and you got to have a bunch of 30-year-old guys. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but so massive signing there for Brentford. Very important. And they also go out and they kind of shore up the midfield. Danish league player, Nigerian descent, Onyeka. You got anything you want to say about Mr. Frank?
Yeah, so he's a defensive midfielder, 23 again. He's coming from Midtjylland. I believe that's how you say it.
Yes.
I don't know. All the Dutch or
The Dutch.
the Danish.
How dare you? How
now they're
dare.
just rioting in the streets right now.
The millions of Danes.
So I was doing a little research on him as well. He's really aggressive in challenges, and he's trying to win the ball as much as possible. He's really fast, and he's a high work rate player. So I think that's something that kind of skill set will fit nicely in the Premier League.
You have a Premier League player comp for him? Maybe like an Ndidi? Not necessarily like that good, but that kind of style player? Or who are we thinking here?
The way I see it is kind of like a Conte, but like really fast.
I see.
But like high work rate and just tries to stop any sort of attacks right away. The only way I see, like, he probably commits a lot of fouls.
Yeah.
Just because he's so aggressive.
Mm-hmm. And if
So-
you're just covering that much space, you're bound to make...
Yeah,
know.
he's going to have to learn where to
pick his
step
spots.
in. And
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, those are just two fantastic signings for Brentford. And we've talked about Brentford before with, they're kind of viewed as a smarter team.
Yeah.
With their people kind of view them as like a money ball version of soccer. They buy guys low, sell them high.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're already inclined to kind of think these guys will be good, but it's hard not to look at them and say it's pretty good business. Younger guys,
Yeah.
but
Everything points to them being on the right track, at least.
exactly. So, and you think that's it for Brentford this window? You think maybe they go out get another guy or no?
Yeah, I think
Maybe an attack-minded player?
so. The £9.5 million on Onyeka,
Yeah.
and then the $13.5 million, that puts them about 22, 23 million.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect them to spend too much more
If
than
anything,
that.
it might be like a loan
Yeah.
or just like a really cut price on a guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say they might not do much more business, but they did good business so far, in my opinion. So
Yep.
other news going on, we'll cut it. Normally we go alphabetical. This time we're gonna kind of hop around.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Mix it up. Keep you on your toes.
Exactly. And now we're gonna go from a newly promoted side to a bigger club. We're gonna go Liverpool. You got some news about Liverpool.
Some very strange news that I never thought to see is that Jordan Henderson is supposedly, possibly leaving, and the rumored teams are like Atleti
I think one was PSG.
and
wasn't it?
PSG, and
I
it's like, is this like a FIFA transfer? Because
Yeah, it really doesn't seem realistic. Not to mention he's kind of been their captain of the club for a while.
He does so much for the team, and he, charity in the community, and
You wonder if it's one of those things. I don't know if he's trying to get a new contract or something, and maybe like an agent would put it out there or something. But it just seems kind of
I believe his contract expires next year at the end of next season. So something to think about.
You'd already feel like Liverpool would be inclined to keep him just because they lost Wijnaldum. Like he cannot
sure.
afford to be
Definitely.
losing.
Especially the way that they conduct transfer businesses. They're not going to bring in multiple high-level players in the transfer window. They
No.
just don't spend that kind of money. So to lose Henderson, that'd be a huge loss. But there's also this thought that maybe he's had some issues with the injuries. Maybe it's time to sell him.
Kind of offload him. My thought process with that is, who are you replacing him with? Because I don't even know who you're replacing Wijnaldum with right now.
Yeah, I mean, so far it looks like there's rumor of Frank Kessie. Is that?
Yeah,
Kessie?
Franck Kessie
Franck
from
Kessie.
AC Milan, highly rated.
Central midfielder, a lot of experience.
Kind of just a box-to-box guy. Was like a really highly touted guy, I believe,
Yeah.
for Udinese coming up, and then went to Milan for like a 20 million euro move or something. Had some ups and downs there, but has kind of settled out. Kind of solid player for them. Yeah, and he wouldn't be bad just because he is a box-to-box, kind of like Henderson, but
Yeah.
yeah.
High work rate. Good for progressing the ball. It doesn't seem like he has maybe the best passing range. He's more
No,
of
he's
just
not super.
dribbling.
Yeah, and he's not super creative when it comes to passing,
Yeah.
especially. But he is a little. He makes up with that for his defensive abilities too,
Right.
which are above average. Yeah, with Liverpool, I mean, they had a friendly this week, and from what I was reading about it, it sounded like Keita played really well. I mean, they're going to need someone to step up in that midfield, and he hasn't been all that great. He was a big money signing for him, so they need him to step up. Heard your guy Ox wasn't doing so hot.
If there was a time to step up, this is his chance. You know?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. There's an opportunity for someone to step up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we go to the other
side of the Merseyside.
Yes. Everton, a little interest in Dwight McNeil. They're not the first team to be thrown around with him. I've heard Villa as well, but I don't know. He seems like maybe another year or two at Burnley, and then he could be an Everton kind of tier player.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I don't know if he's quite to that level yet, but then it is Everton, and
Yeah,
what level are Everton?
we would like to think that they're that team where it was like they were the divide between like the top 6, and then they're that solid team, and then the rest. But I don't know. They're kind of fading from that.
Yeah,
as we go along.
especially now with what's going on with Ancelotti leaving. What is Everton now? I don't know.
They've been that way for, I feel like, really since Roberto Martinez left. It's kind of been, even like the last year Martinez, you're like, oh, what is this? And they got rid of him, and then they completely lost their identity.
Yeah.
Personally, that's
and
how I feel.
They've just kind of been bouncing around, trying to find something that sticks.
They don't really have anything. And they'll like pick up guys from like lower Premier League teams who are like good for those teams, and then they put them with their team, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah. There's not really like an overarching plan in place. It's just like, okay, this guy's pretty good. We'll sign him. But you don't have like a solid system like what you're building, because no one's been there for long enough to put in place that sort of system.
Yeah, there definitely feels like there's not a ton of chemistry either. And like they get solid players. It's just, I don't know, they don't really gel. And then, like we're talking about, the manager keeps flopping. So they need consistency. Everton need consistency. Hopefully, I don't know if Rafa's the best hire for consistency, because more than likely he'll be out after, I would suspect, for sure 2 years. Maybe even after this year or halfway through this year.
I feel like that's almost a guarantee. Like 2 years even seems like
a long time. That's being generous.
That's being generous, yes.
But
I do like Dwight McNeil. I think he's underrated because he's on Burnley.
Yeah, he has a sense of creativity, and it's kind of blocked by Burnley and the fact that, like we've always said, they just play random. They kind of just go with the flow when it comes to attack. But because he's 23.
I think he's 23.
Yeah, so he has some room to grow.
Yep. I think if he was on a different team, maybe like a flashier team, so to say.
Like a Southampton or something, maybe?
Maybe like a Southampton, not a team that doesn't have the reputation that Burnley does for playing like ugly defensive football.
Yeah. Even if he was on like a Newcastle, I feel like that'd be better than a Burnley. But.
I mean, Newcastle, they're a big club for sure.
Yeah,
They're
I just meant in like
underperforming.
play style even.
Yeah.
Like they kind of hoofball like Burnley, but at least it's like
It's a
they have
little more-
they have elegance to them.
Yeah, yes, a little more elegant. That's a good way to put it.
They officially made the signings that we mentioned on the last pod official, being Damari Gray, Asmir Begovic, and Andros Townsend. You know, I don't mind those since they're going to be cheap. I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't check out the wages.
Probably
But
not
I mean,
much.
they're just depth piece
Depth,
kind of
yeah.
guys. I saw someone else was looking at Damari Gray, trying to get him from Leverkusen. I forget who it was.
Was it Palace? Maybe?
It was Palace.
Palace?
Now that you say that, yeah. Which again, they'd probably be a little more reliant on him than Everton will be.
I got to make a note on Everton. Absolute legend, Bernard, leaving, going to
I saw
the UAE.
that
I think.
picture of him with the guy in the Keifa headdress. That was awesome.
I didn't see that. I just saw him wearing
I'm gonna have to find
the
it.
jersey, but
Might have to make it the official picture of the podcast this.
what a strange time in the Premier League. I
Oh my
remember
gosh.
back in the day he was rumored to Arsenal. Back when he was playing in Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, that happens with those Brazilian guys. Sometimes if they like miss their chance to go to a big club and it just doesn't pan out for them,
Yeah.
then they're
And then
kind of stuck.
he was
with-
always like a fringe player at Everton anyways.
Yeah.
So-
He wasn't as elite as. There's just some guys that get on these Champions League teams and it's like they're good in the Ukrainian league and they can have a week or two where they, they'll pop up against English side and look good, and then you're like, oh, maybe. And it's like if you get to watch them more, you're like, oh, he has a lot of faults in his game.
Right.
And that's just
There's a reason he's not playing week in, week out.
exactly. So Everton doing a little bit of business,
Just doing Everton things.
Yes, exactly.
I hope to see some sort of like significant signing. But is that going to happen? I don't know.
Who knows? Who's Rafa even been? Who are they going to bring in?
They
for
gotta bring in some sort of creative midfield player to replace
Well,
James
what
when
about
he leaves.
Gylfi now? We didn't even talk
Yeah,
about that.
Gylfi is
We're not going to get too far
under
into
arrest.
it, but he is. They might be struggling for creative midfield play. Let's put it like that.
yeah, he is out for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely.
But I really want to see some sort of attack, and I mean even Dwight McNeil it's something.
Yeah.
I mean I don't think
Even
he's
though
ready, but
he's a little more wide, I suppose.
yeah, he's a
but-
wide player, but add something to the attack. Speaking of adding to the attack, let's talk about Brighton. So we've talked about this team. What is the one need that they have needed for so long?
Oh, we know they need a 9.
They need a 9, a quality 9. They have like the best expected goals
Yeah.
ever.
They have the advanced stats to show that their style of play is good, and even if you're not an advanced stats guy, the eye test shows that they probably should be scoring more than they are. Looking at Edgeworth he's on Celtic, correct?
Yep,
Yeah, Celtic. So he's contributed a lot to them. 83 goals, 37 assists, and 169 appearances in the Scottish League with Celtic. He's even played with the French under 21 team.
Yep. 17 goals and 14 appearances.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
He's a pacey guy. You want to break down his gameplay?
I mean, he's got a lot of experience. Like you said, 169 appearances in the Scottish Premiership, 83 goals, 37 assists. That's a great tally.
Yeah, for a
young
just
player.
A 9.
So his attributes, he's a dynamic player. He likes to run off the back of players, but he can also come back kind of in like a Harry Kane role where he picks up the ball and can link up play and
Yeah, out
distribute
wide.
it even more. And of course, with that goal scoring tally,
He's just
he's a
poacher.
good finisher.
Yeah, you can.
And seems like a perfect fit for Brighton if they can find a good price. I would think that there's probably more suitors than just Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
For sure.
great goal scorers like him, potentially don't pop up.
Yeah, not even limited to just the Premier League. I'm sure that there's guys all over Europe trying
for
to get
sure.
on him. But it'll be interesting to see what the fee would be because I could see Celtic, they don't normally charge that much for their guys.
Yeah, they're kind of in a tough spot.
Yeah, because it's like, what are you going to do? Keep them? No, you're not.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 20 to 30.
Yeah, I could see it a cap out at 30 probably. But
yeah,
you never know if there's a bidding war or something. But
for sure.
I think that would exclude Brighton from it.
More than likely, because they're not a big spending team.
But you never know with a Premier League side. They can be a little more...
well, with all
spending.
that Johan Bach money.
all 900K of it. They'll buy 1/30th of Eduard.
Oh, my gosh.
But that would
That'd
take
be a
that
good
club to the
signing.
next level. They
I
could
think
be
so.
a solid mid-table.
I would say they'd comfortably move them to at least like 12th or 13th at like the lowest. I think it could push them as high as about 8th.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Pushing for, Europa Conference League, which would be huge for Brighton.
For Brighton, absolutely. Now we got some extensions going on here.
Yes.
We got a number change as well. That's not Jadon Sancho. We got Emile Smith-Rowe, number 10.
Yeah,
gets a contract
absolutely
deal.
huge news. He's been the star player of the last half season for Arsenal. And there's been some rumored interest from Aston Villa, £25 million bids. Like, I don't know what they're...
Who's throwing that out there for Villa?
They're just having a laugh, like trying to get
who in the
people wind
media's
up.
who in the media's got this going for Villa?
Or it could also have just been like the agent again. I feel like I always kind of go back to that
because a lot of times that is the case.
Yeah.
To get a new contract, you're like, oh, this team's looking at us. It's like,
Yep.
no, they're not. What are you talking about? But sometimes it's enough to spook a team into being like, all right, I guess we better pay up a little bit.
Yep. So a big move, a 5-year contract for Emile Smith-Rowe, given the number 10 jersey. Not just given, he asked for it, apparently. So Arteta was a fan of his ambition. He's got the number 10 jersey, and hopefully he cements a legacy for Arsenal.
He's the playmaker on Arsenal.
Yes, exactly. And the best part is,
Besides Willian.
we've seen it before, a player like Hudson-Odoi, where they use interest from other teams to leverage an insane contract.
Yes.
Reportedly, Emile Smith-Rowe is on $80K a week in this new contract. So that's a very reasonable price.
Pretty good.
So I'm very happy with that business. And then moving to the other side of London, we have another contract extension.
Heung-min Son.
It's kind of surprising, but like not surprising. It's only surprising as in like, why are you sticking around?
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's less about Tottenham extending him, and Tottenham's probably like, holy crap, I can't believe we actually got him to sign.
Yeah, seriously.
This has got to be a massive, massive move for Tottenham, mainly in the race to keep Harry Kane.
Yeah, for sure.
So I didn't see the exact terms for Son. Did you see the wages?
I didn't see it, but I would imagine it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's got to be like 200K a week.
Yeah, you would think. Maybe more, because sometimes Tottenham gets a little carried away with their finances.
But honestly, they have
it's
to.
worth it for a world-class player like Son.
Yeah.
So Kane, it's a big one. I mean, this is going to help, but it's still... It looks like what Daniel Levy said, he was like upset about Kane. Did you see that?
Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting reports. There's some reports saying, oh, the deal's done. He's going to Man City, just like that. And then there's others saying there's no way Man City would ever pay £160 million for a player.
Yeah.
And then in the midst of all this, you have the
worst owner.
Kane, did he ask for a move?
Oh, you're talking about that. Yeah.
Daniel Levy's upset, and, all this drama that comes along.
With the transfer saga.
Yeah.
For a world-class player. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's going to end up staying.
I think so, too. I just have this feeling.
Yeah.
He's like, man, you should really leave, but he's so loyal.
Yeah, he doesn't have... You can say loyalty. I think part of it, too, and it's impossible not to mention this, is lack of ambition. You can sit there and say that.
That's fair.
He is loyal to the team, which he obviously is. He's staying with them. He's not forcing it out. But you have to question after this over and over the failures of being able to elevate the club.
Absolutely.
He's still just like, okay,
yeah,
I'll be here.
Yeah, not to mention the ambition. I mean, we talked about Nuno Espirito coming in, and he was like the 7th choice.
Yes.
You can't even get your first choice manager.
No, that's kind of where you're at. Yet you're clearly the best striker in the Premiership. But you're not going to get a move away. And part of it, it's just hard because there's not a perfect suitor for him. But at the same time, it's like if he wanted to force his way out, he absolutely could.
Yeah,
he could hold
absolutely.
Tottenham's head over a barrel.
Yeah.
So I think he'll stay. That's and I'm sure I'll flip-flop it next week when he...
I think he'll stay as well.
More Tottenham news, though.
Yeah, making some moves. They've got a new director of football.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
they have the Italian man.
Yeah, Italian guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
they're...
he seems to be getting some business done.
Yeah. First off, going to have Alderweireld out.
The Cutter.
He saw how well their performance is in the Gold Cup. He's like, all right, they must have great players over there.
Very nice. Great success.
Over there. In steps Christian Romero. Very important defensive piece for Atalanta. Last couple of years, I believe. And then he was also on Genoa. Was technically his parent club's Juventus.
Yep.
Big time player. You want to break down his skill set?
Yeah, he's a great one-on-one defender. Pretty much nothing gets past him. I think that kind of comes with being a defender in Italy.
Yeah.
You have that extra skill set of learning how to properly defend. And then as well, he's a great aerial threat, either defensively or offensively, scoring some very nice headers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a player that is not afraid to put in a hard tackle, so kind of like Onyenka, that could come back to haunt him. You know, when you're a young player, you've got to learn when you can and when you can't. But we shall see.
Yeah, he's definitely a top player.
But
I think
a much-needed move for Tottenham.
Yeah. Well, the fee, if I believe it was it 40 or 50? It was somewhere around there. It's a big time fee, and you're gonna have to pay that for world-class center backs, especially when they're 23 years old,
right?
And they're very versatile in many different ways.
Yeah.
So, I would say that's a good bit of business by Tottenham. At least getting quality player. You could say maybe an overpay, especially since he's coming to the Premier League. We don't know how he's gonna adjust. We'll have to see. But Tottenham, their defense last year was no bueno, to say the least. And they needed to step that up.
Absolutely. The past few seasons even, it's been trending downwards.
Yeah.
It's been super obvious that they need to freshen it up, bring in some new guys, get rid of the old guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of it's just for Tongan and Alderweireld just getting old. And, what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to have to replace that at that point. And then Sanchez hasn't quite developed like he thought he was. He showed signs, and then it kind of petered out a little bit.
Yeah, seems like he's reached his level, and it's not where you want it to be.
Yeah, and Rodon, still a year or two away probably.
He's still got some experience that he needs to get before
he's probably third choice right now if you're going with it. But, it very important to square away the central defense for Tottenham. Maybe they'll look at their wide defense now. Maybe a fullback, who knows? But
yeah,
because I think it's safe to say we're not huge Aurier fans. We're not huge Mr. Own Goal fans. So, we'll see what they do. There's not a ton of time left, but they could.
Yeah, it might be more dependent on some outgoings as well.
Mm-hmm, true.
Might be trying to focus on deals like what they had with Lamella, doing more of a swap plus some money, I believe.
Yeah, it's 25 million euros or 20 million euros.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
So they're going after Brian Hill, left winger, 20 years old, played for Sevilla. Well, spent last season on loan at Eibar, made 28 appearances, 4 goals and 3 assists. Can play on either wing. You see the 4 goals and 3 assists. Nothing crazy in that aspect, but you really have to watch this kid play to see what he's all about.
He's good.
He is very small.
Yeah.
But he is super dynamic, just runs and runs, loves taking on defenders one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I think he can get past any defender in the world the way he plays.
Yeah, he's definitely something special. I think he's one of few, I think he was tops pretty much in goal contribution and chance creations when it came to under 21 players in La Liga. He was clearly the best. It'll be interesting to see what they do because I guess it depends how Nuno wants to play. He does play with a lot more guys kind of going forward. Yeah. Maybe they'll have him on wing opposite Kane and Son, maybe kind of in that Bale sort of role that he was playing last year. We'll have to see, but
yeah, it would make sense. I mean, they love to play with the wide players. You think of Adama Traore, huge piece in that attack there for Wolves.
And he brings a better dribbling kind of presence to the team. Not saying that Son's obviously a bad dribbler. Kane can't dribble past a defender, but he brings that aspect to the team as well.
It's just kind of like a different dynamic that he brings.
Exactly. So
and my one question with him is that he's very small. Mm-hmm. Is he going to be able to handle the physicality of the Premier League? Because it's a lot different than Spain.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So
only time will tell.
Time will tell.
But I think if you're quick enough and you're skilled enough on the ball like he has shown he can be, there will be success along the way. Might be some bumps and bruises as well for him, but
definitely.
You want to go back to Arsenal? Go back. We flew to the one part of North London, now we're going to fly back to the other.
Right back. So Arsenal is in a little bit of a strange situation with the goalkeeping scenario that they have going. So obviously the number one being Bernd Leno. He has 1 year left on his contract. He hasn't said that he's really interested in signing an extension. Mm-hmm. So Arsenal is looking elsewhere. They were looking initially at Onana from Ajax. Mm-hmm. He had that whole issue with the suspension and it seems to have just broken down talks because he wouldn't be available for quite some time still.
4 to 6 months still.
Yeah, so you're still having Leno and then half the season and just weird. So they've looked at other options, a couple other options being the English players such as Aaron Ramsdale and Sam Johnstone. Mainly Aaron Ramsdale has been what we're seeing. But Sheffield United paid a big sum for him last season.
So they're not going to want to sell him unless they're getting something hefty.
So they have to have the right offer. I mean, we've seen it with other teams where if the money's not there, they'll just keep him, and try and get back into the Premier League.
Yeah.
I'm not too crazy on it, but Arsenal seems like they really want a guy who can be a homegrown player, so then they can have an extra space for a non-homegrown player in the squad because they seem to be kind of running low on the homegrown status players. So that's something important. I mean, also Ramsdale, we've seen him. He's had some really nice games. He's also shown his inexperience. But, he does have potential. He's only 23. Goalkeepers don't peak until a lot closer to 30.
Yeah.
So he's definitely an option, but we'll have to see if the price is right.
Around £30 million is what I've seen, and who knows, it can be higher or lower. But for me, the money's not worth it for Mr. Ramsdale at that price tag.
Right. Looking back, you wish you would have never sold Emi Martinez, which I was kind of an advocate
skeptical
for
on.
Saying we should keep him because he's been incredible.
He's been good, not to mention if Leno's situation isn't going to work out.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know it?
The issue was that people wanted to buy Emi Martinez, and there haven't been any offers for Bernardino. So
Yeah, Arsenal kind of viewed him as expendable, which was not the case. Another potential transfer first, talking about homegrown guys, Tammy Abraham, another team in the Tammy Abraham race. We got West Ham, we got Villa, we got all the teams.
Yeah,
looking
very
at him.
interesting that Arsenal pops up in there.
Yeah, I mean, he does kind of play, you would say, somewhat similar a style to Aubameyang, just as
That's
like a player.
exactly what I was thinking.
He's
yeah.
a very similar player. I just don't think, even though Arsenal isn't quite at that level that we normally think of Arsenal at, I still don't think he's Arsenal quality, maybe. But, I mean, he's led Chelsea in scoring before, so who knows? I think he is more of kind of a Villa, West Ham tier kind of guy, just like a solid.
He'd be more of like when Arsenal signed Danny Welbeck, kind of that caliber of player. You know, obviously not a world-class player by any means, but can score some goals here and there.
Yeah, and it's more, the only thing I worry about is he's a little younger and he's proven it before, so you might have to pay for him. They didn't have to pay a ton for when they got Welbeck.
No, he was expendable.
Yeah, by United. So
similar profiles, though.
Yeah, definitely kind of pacey, can get behind, gets in the right spot in the box because he doesn't have to just rely on pace. But
Arsenal definitely should be looking forward to the future. You got Lacazette's contract winding down, potentially him leaving, but it's debates whether there's been any interest really.
Yeah.
So you got to move towards someone because Aubameyang's getting older, and he's not going to leave because he just signed that big contract.
Yep.
So you're looking at Lacazette as being the one who might leave potentially, and then you got to fill that spot. But when I think of Tammy Abraham, I'm not sure if it's the right skill set for the style that Arsenal
Arteta
plays.
Yeah.
Especially with like the slow build-up and like very precise, get into certain areas, you know, not trying to play too fast.
Yeah.
I look at more of like an Edouard player who can kind of drop back deeper and be more into the link-up play, and then maybe some other player can get on the end of the chance. Maybe he would suit the team better. But I'm not against Tammy for Arsenal. I think it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I just
if
worry
the price
about,
is right.
I was gonna say I just worry about the price tag with Abraham for a lot of these clubs. I don't think it'll fully be worth it. It might be worth it for West Ham only because we've seen Antonio at times get hurt, and then their attack is kind of a little down to say the least. Yeah. So
there's also the aspect of that he's not going to be playing at Chelsea. So that doesn't give Chelsea that much leverage in transfer negotiations. It would more just be like a bidding war potentially, or multiple clubs being interested.
I don't think Chelsea's going to be super necessarily keen to sell him, losing Giroud and not bringing another guy, and they already have questions at striker. So,
but does Tammy Abraham really want to be at Chelsea?
Who knows? I mean, Chelsea still is a top-tier club, so
That's
a lot
true.
of guys will talk themselves into it, be like, hey, man, I can fight for my spot. I believe in myself. But at the same time, it's like, would he be better off going to a smaller club? Probably. But are you going to tell Tammy Abraham that because you don't think he's good enough?
Yeah.
So
you would think, though, he'd hate to be just wasting away on the bench and that he'd want to be making an impact.
Well, you'd think that about Dean Henderson last year, too.
Well, yes, absolutely.
So who knows? It'll be interesting to see. I don't think he'll move. I think that Chelsea might have a little too high a tag for any team that's willing to give it a go on him. But
there's a potential, though, that they hold on to him for too long and then miss out on a peak value, because last season he didn't have a great season.
Yeah.
And the season before was when he had the really nice season. So, you go 2 seasons without having much productivity, the price can drop.
Yeah, we'll have to see how Tuchel wants to use him, because we compared him to Aubameyang. We saw how Aubameyang did under Tuchel in the Bundesliga, so there's always a chance that they use him, but that's definitely an intriguing kind of situation, especially since the talks have kind of slowed down. His name was always kind of in the circle. Now it's not really going. And normally when there's not much talk going on, that's when stuff might actually happen.
Yeah.
So, staying in London.
Smaller club.
We got another Kabak update. We've talked about them last pod. We got a new team in the mix. Crystal Palace is throwing their hat in the ring.
Yep. Crystal Palace. Will any team actually go after him, or will they just say we're interested?
Yes, interesting.
I'm interested. Walks away.
We've talked about we think he'd be a solid player. Yeah. He wasn't Liverpool quality, obviously, but I think he'd be nice on a team like Palace. We mentioned the price probably couldn't be more than like somewhere between like 8 to 13 million pounds. You would think somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
He's a little younger, but I mean, hasn't shown a ton in the Premier League. More Palace news. Patrick Van Aanholt.
R.I.P. the legend.
The Sunderland legend, the Palace legend. He is now departing.
Hey, we got to be fair, though. He looked pretty good in the Euros, not going to lie.
He's decent.
I wouldn't have been upset if Arsenal signed him as a backup left back.
Don't say that. Don't talk yourself into Patrick Van Aanholt. The Netherlands Patrick Van Aanholt's different from club Patrick Van Aanholt. Yeah. And we got another one.
Yeah, Joachim Andersen. This one I really like.
That would be. Sam wouldn't know what to do because he'd like Palace's signings, but then he hates the manager. He's like ultimately torn on Palace. Yeah, I mean, we've seen him in the Premier League before.
I can't believe there's not more teams going after him, honestly. We thought Tottenham.
There probably is. It's
Tottenham
just they're
obviously
not,
going for
keeping it under
Romero.
wraps. But it'd probably be like Palace and more teams in that like 12 to 20 range would be looking at him. Because, I mean, he was Fulham's best player last year. Maybe you say Areola was their best player, but, you know,
I'd say Anderson.
Yeah, it's up for
personally.
debate. Yeah, I would too. I'm just saying I think a lot of people in general would say Areola. But, no, I think that'd be a really good signing for Palace. I hope it works. I hope Palace... You know, they've been up in the Premiership for almost 10 years now.
That'd be a big signing that they really need. We've talked about how much of a big job it is right now for them to build this squad. And that'd be a great centerpiece because we've seen he's a natural-born leader. He's a young player, great quality.
I would like that, especially since the most that they probably splash on a guy is about 20 mil. You might as well make sure it's worth a guy who's a little younger, proven that he's pretty decent in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that's great value. I can't believe there's not more buzz about him, honestly. I guess no one was watching Fulham.
Yeah, it's a mix of that, and then he didn't really play in the Euros. I think if he would have played in the Euros too, they maybe would have shot the price up.
True.
But yeah, so gonna go a little further north now.
To Birmingham.
Yep. We got Villa. Deep discussions. Todd Cantwell. Also been rumored with Leon Bailey this week.
Some very interesting rumors.
Who's putting these out for Villa? The Emile Smith Rowe. But I mean, and then they'll go out and get Buendia for 40 mil. So it's like, are you going to rule it out?
No.
I think it's, I don't know if I believe the Cantwell just because it's so close to the season and it's like, what would Norwich do without him?
Yeah. They have no reason to sell him.
Yeah, I wouldn't suspect that. One we've talked about previously was Will Hughes. I would think that's like way more reasonable and realistic than Cantwell at this point. Maybe next summer they go after Cantwell.
I don't even see where Cantwell really fits into Villa's team.
If you're gonna rotate the squad, you know, maybe he's kind of. I don't think you'd put him with McGinn. I think him and McGinn are kind of interchangeable. But I mean, John McGinn's been so good. It's like, what are you gonna do? Have him sit a lot more?
Well,
games?
Isn't Cantwell? He's more of like a 10 though, isn't he?
I always view him as more of like a 8, and McGinn's kind of more a 8-6, whereas Cantwell's more of a 8-10.
8-10, yeah, that's a fair assessment.
So, I don't know. He would bring a different dynamic to him, but maybe it's insurance if Grealish leaves. Maybe that's all the rumors are. It's just because Grealish been rumored with City, which
boy, that would be something. You sell Grealish and you sign Todd Cantwell. I mean, no disrespect to Cantwell. I enjoy watching him, but
Yeah, but
That's
they're
a step down.
younger Englishmen with the long flowing hair. They're the same guy. They're the same guy.
Except he's got blonde.
That's true. With Grealish, just real quick, City apparently agreeing to terms, but yet they're not. The clubs haven't agreed. But now there's discussions whether or not Grealish actually wants to go there now because of his role at the club. What do you make of that whole saga? Would you say, first off, we'll just start with this: Grealish or Kane? What's more realistic for City?
Grealish. Just because Daniel Levy, he hates people trying to make transfers.
I would say Grealish just because he seems like a guy Pep would be able to for sure know how to mold and craft and stuff. He seems like more of a Pep player than Kane. Obviously not saying Kane couldn't fit in and Pep wouldn't use Kane or something, but it's just Pep loves those wide playmaking guys, especially.
Yeah, for sure.
He can't have enough
He
of them.
kind of would fit his system even better and possibly could build around him as a
He really could.
main centerpiece.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there is that issue. We've seen Pep, the way that he's been rotating his teams has been fairly strange, I would say.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like any other team.
No.
But they have the depth that they can do it. But it gets weird
I don't know
at
if
times.
Grealish is the right move for them just because you just sold Zane because Mahrez and Zane were kind of clogging up that playing time. And now what, you're just going to bring Grealish in? It's like, what are you going to do with Mahrez? You're just going to sell Mahrez in the summer, next summer, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah.
It still seems like it would clog a lot of stuff up, but,
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like more of a signing they would make maybe after Kevin De Bruyne. Hypothetically.
I see. Yeah.
I feel like Jack Grealish just has to be the centerpiece of a team.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where he's best suited. And there's just some guys that are meant to do that. And maybe Grealish keeps expanding his game and he can be the centerpiece of a team of Man City's quality. At this point, he's a guy who's the centerpiece that's a quality of Villa's team. And Villa's a good team now. Mm-hmm. They're in that 7-8 range. They're like what we would say Everton should be.
Yeah.
That's what Villa is. So I think it just makes sense for no movement as far as the Grealish front.
It'd be more likely that he'd be the centerpiece on a team like Arsenal, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of that
you would
caliber
say that.
of a
No, I'm
team.
just kidding.
Just because,
No, it does make sense.
Arsenal is more traditional in that sense to have, a star player like that, as opposed to Man City where every player is world
I
class.
hate to make the comparison, but obviously if he's going to fit with Pep, he's going to fit with Arteta.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah,
as.
exactly.
So,
Very similar systems.
as far as Leon Bailey, there's been some random rumblings. He was rumored to Man City a few years back for a lot of money.
Yeah, his stock has fallen.
Yeah, he's decent. I would suspect if he moves, he'll probably just stay in the Bundesliga. I couldn't see him really in the Premier League, kind of just a pacey winger, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and then we talked about Begovic to Everton as well. Just those Everton moves, going back to it for a little bit. They just don't do anything for me as far as moving the needle.
No, not yet.
Gosh.
They're just doing the business you do year to year, housekeeping
and
kind of stuff.
maybe that's a start of something for Everton. I don't want to go back to Everton too much, but maybe
neither do I.
yeah, let's not go back to Everton. But it's nice to have Begovic back in the Premiership. Former Chelsea legend, former Stoke goal scoring legend.
Yeah,
out there.
Absolutely classic.
Burnley, talked a little about McNeil potentially leaving earlier. Cornier from Lyon, young wing player, very un-Burnley like.
I know, the complete opposite of what Burnley stand for.
It would be interesting to see. I don't know what they would do with him. Maybe he just becomes the Saint Maximin of Burnley.
Yeah, pretty much. I think if Burnley actually did get him, there's 0% chance that he plays as a left back.
Yeah, and he can play that way on better teams. He's kind of like a Kingsley Coman in terms of like he has the ability to play defensive minded, but he's very good in going attack too. He's kind of like the perfect wing back kind of guy. But definitely for Burnley, he'd have to be on the wing, being dynamic in attack.
Yeah, I think he'd bring a good chaos factor to Burnley.
Oh gosh, well that's what they love.
Yeah,
that's what they love.
That's a good comparison though. The Saint Maximin, like your talisman.
Yeah, just your catalyst for some attack because right now they really don't have a ton. Especially in midfield.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have to, I guess, like, who is their best attacking midfielder? Because McNeil's a little wider. Cornet would be wide. Is it, like, I guess, Brownhill? I don't even know, dude. Who's their guy?
I mean, kind of like Ashley Barnes, but he plays as a forward a lot. But
he's more, he's kind of like a false
10.
10. Yeah.
He's been, like,
hurt
MIA,
a lot, so. It's really incredible Chris Wood gets more than 10 goals a year.
I would love if the signing happened just for like the pure
randomness.
entertainment value of watching this guy. Like he shows up and he's at Burnley and he's like, oh God, this is awful.
This is terrible.
Dude, this like northern industrial town.
Yeah, going from Leon to the, what's their stadium called?
Turf Moor.
The Turf Moor.
Yep.
Beautiful.
That'd be a wake-up call.
Yes, it absolutely would. But I would still like the signing. Speaking of signing for Burnley, Wayne Hennessy. He's back. Tom Heat now. Wayne Hennessy in.
The classic backup goalkeeper is what he's become.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. You got Pope. If Pope gets hurt, more than likely they'll probably play that other younger guy they had towards the end of the year.
Peacock Farrell? Or...
Did they play him? I thought they played someone else too. Because I know Burnley just that's their go-to is developing keepers. But just as depth, I don't mind Wayne Hennessy. I can't imagine his wages are anything more than €10 a week.
I mean, he's no Joe Hart, but
Tottenham
what can you
legend. We'll cut it to Chelsea. Little talks of Kingsley Coman. Don't really believe that. Don't know where he'd play.
No.
It really comes down to Haaland still. Apparently, Dortmund said no official bid yet.
I feel like Tuchel would not like Coman. He doesn't seem like he works hard enough.
Yeah. I mean, he can. He's good. He's talented on both ends. I suppose it just depends how you deploy him. I don't know. Chelsea have so much. If Chelsea cleared out a little more, they've done a good job of clearing out this summer. If they clear out a little more, then maybe it makes sense. But they already have so many guys right now. It's like you can make it work with what you have.
Yeah.
They sold a few youth players this week for some good money. Obviously, they sold the one we were talking about, Palace, getting one last week, the center back. Sold, I think his name, Bate.
Yeah,
to
Lewis Bate.
Leeds. Yeah, solid player. Another defender that was sold to Brentford, and a youth player pretty much left, I guess, after contract dispute, and ended up signing with Southampton. So that'd be
standard stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Develop guys at Chelsea? Come on now, what do you think this is? Do you think that? What would you say? 1% at Holland? 0%? I think it's 0%.
I think it's 0%, maybe even -%.
Do you think there's any way they bring in another striker? No, I'd say no.
No.
I think they had their window last summer.
Yeah.
Maybe next summer they'll spend, but
yeah, I think next summer at the earliest.
Mm-hmm. Well, another big name.
Let's talk about Paul Pogba, the enigma.
Oh gosh, Man U. What are they going to do with this man? Rumored to PSG this week. Who isn't rumored to PSG?
I don't know. Everyone, apparently. I've been rumored to PSG.
The
PSG podcast.
Yeah, that's what... How dare you? How dare you rename the podcast without my authority?
The PSG Perusal.
And we just break down. We haven't talked about PSG's games. Just talk about PSG signing guys.
Yeah, who's been rumored to PSG in the last week?
Oh, he's good. Oh, he sucks. No, Sam, that guy sucks.
Paul Pogba don't want him.
Oh, man. What are you talking about? All the Zoomers would love that Paul Pogba.
That they would.
For the dabs.
Yeah.
Do you think it's legitimate? Do you think they'd sell him?
He's got to go. He's got to go. There's no other option. He's got to go.
That's how you feel. It's almost like watching like someone in like a bad relationship, and you're just like,
Just
this
end
has
it.
to be done. This has to be done, and then they won't do it.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
like
doesn't.
painful. It's just not working out.
Man U, Pogba, please split. But
Please split.
I think it'd be best for Pogba. I think it'd be best for Man U. Get a little more inflow. Maybe open up a spot for Van de Beek.
Yeah, I think Pogba, he's just done. Like, he's not interested. It just hasn't worked out.
No.
Whatever happened, it hasn't worked out. Man U are heading in a different direction, and it's time for him to go.
Not to mention, it feels like he kind of got his team hijacked. It was Pogba's team, and now it's definitely Bruno Fernandes' team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But whose fault is that? Pogba, because he
Slabbies.
played
Slabhead's fault,
abysmally
actually.
and just fell off and
Yeah.
cares about his brand
Yeah,
mostly and
That's-
doing 10 celebrations.
exactly. No, he's meant for PSG. He should go to PSG.
Yeah, where you can just walk the league and not really try that hard.
Would you say, what percent would you give it that it gets done?
75%.
75.
I think Man U really wants to get rid of him.
I think they do. I think we'll see about the talks, how they progress. But right now, we'll give it a modest 40%. I hope it happens though.
Maybe that's just me wanting it to happen.
Get it done. Other spec to some smaller clubs. Braithwaite, Martin Braithwaite, Barcelona player, solid little Euro run. Rumored a couple Premier League teams. I think Southampton was one of them, and I want to say maybe West Ham. Maybe that was a while back, but apparently came out that he's also interested in a Premier League move, and he specifically would like to play at Wolves. Kind of strange, just because it's
The
like,
Portuguese connection.
yeah, it's kind of strange just because it's like, well, as a club size, that makes sense, I think, for him.
Yep.
It's just kind of strange because it's like, it's a new manager. Unless he knows something about Laga, I don't know anything if there are any previous connections there or anything. But, yeah, it definitely seems strange. But I think that club size and fit, it might not be too bad. I think maybe even if he's just backing up Jimenez, or he's just kind of providing a little more relief to Traore at times.
Yeah, I think it's a good option just so you're not putting all your cards onto Jimenez again.
Yeah, all eggs in one basket.
You
'Cause
need
that's how that
a
went.
different option, and it's not named William Jose. I'm sorry.
How dare you? How dare you?
But yeah, I mean, Southampton, I could see it if they sell Danny Ings. Otherwise, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not really a place in that team for him.
Yeah, because Che Adams is really the guy.
Che
that they're
McAdams, the
Yes.
Scot.
There's something else I want to say about Wolves. Oh, there was a rumor about Neto. It
Yeah,
was, I think it was
Liverpool.
Liverpool, Tottenham, and Juventus. What
Yeah.
are how realistic are any of those? I mean, I would have said I could see Tottenham because no Bale, but now they got Mr. Gill.
Yeah.
Uh,
And apparently, Neto is still not fully fit and won't be for a while still.
I don't see them getting rid of him. There's a lot of these rumors that have been coming up where it's like, it feels like it's too soon. It feels like I could see these moves maybe happening next summer, but since the window's so short and teams are limited and stuff, it just doesn't feel like it's going to come all together.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of moves that seem like that.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we could be seeing the transformation of Wolves becoming Liverpool's feeder club.
From Southampton
Friendship
to
with
Wolves.
Southampton ended. Wolves are my new best friend.
That'd be pretty funny. That's why I didn't even think about that. That's so good. Let's see. Speaking of Southampton, interested in a little Braithwaite. They sell Mario Lemina to Nice. Not that much money coming in. Wouldn't expect that. Obviously, he didn't have a huge impact on their team the last couple of years. When he first came in, he looked okay. He's kind of just like a failed prospect kind of dude. It'll be interesting to see because they still have some holes in midfield that they need to shore up.
Yeah.
One thing taking a hit for them, we've always mentioned Delaney, how much we'd like to see him there.
Mm-hmm.
He's apparently in talks for a contract extension at Dortmund. Who knows how that goes? But one rumor I've been seeing, Adam Armstrong, this is a guy we mentioned on this podcast.
I think that's another thing that is dependent on Danny Ings.
That too. I was gonna say maybe too soon for Southampton. Give that another year. I like Adam Armstrong. I think the team I mentioned him for was Brighton.
Yeah.
Semi similar to Edouard, not nearly as quick and fast. Maybe a little better of a more natural goal scorer, but Edouard also a little better of a distributor as well. But
yeah.
It'd be interesting. I'd like to see Adam Armstrong in the Premiership. I know that there's been talks of maybe even back to Newcastle, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of unlikely unless Newcastle offload Joelinton
Yeah.
or something like that, but I don't think
To
that's
probably,
gonna happen.
like Madrid or Barca? Where's he going?
Man City.
That's their answer. That would be the ultimate Pep move, is if he started buying bad players just to make them good again.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
He's like, yeah, no, we got Joelinton. And people would be like, what?
Guys, he's going to fit the system perfectly.
Him buying like cut price guys from like, he bought, say like Pep bought Joelinton for like 20 mil from like Newcastle, if that, probably more like 10.
Yeah.
And then he just turns them into a great player. That'd be
great.
That'd be so funny.
That's at the point when you're like absolutely walking the league and you
throw him out there. He's missing like 3 chances a game. Just clear cut chances.
Don't worry, guys. He'll come good.
Bounce to one of our favorite teams now, Leeds. Conor Gallagher. We've mentioned Palace as like the main team, and I still stand by. I would like to see him at Palace mainly, but it would be something to see him at Leeds to see how Bielsa uses him.
Yeah, I was thinking he's a great Leeds type player. The work rate that he has, I think he'd fit in nicely there.
Yeah, and if you're Chelsea, if you were Chelsea, would you rather have him go to Palace, where he's going to be one of the main focal points in midfield, or go to Leeds, where it's not going to be so reliant on him, but he's going to be able to absorb so much more, I feel like, from other players and the manager?
Yeah.
It's
got to be Leeds, I mean, for me personally. But the question is, where would he fit in at Leeds? Is there a spot for him at Leeds?
I think there is, in terms of being a rotational piece. Maybe it's occasional Premier League starts, but like he'll come in for 20 minutes or so to wrap up games more often than start. But I think there's definitely a spot for him. I just don't think he would start over guys. And I mean, who knows? Maybe they deploy him a little differently than you'd think. Maybe they're deploying him almost like they've been using Click the last couple of years, where it's not like he's a little more defensive minded, but yet he's also forward. So it would definitely be interesting. Anyone rumored to Leeds is probably going to be really interesting, just because
they know what they're doing.
Yeah, Leeds know what they're doing. City
back to City talk.
Yeah, City bringing in a few guys.
They've started it. No name Brazilians.
Yeah, no name. They're like, one of these guys might just be Bernard, but one of them, they could be
2 Gabriel Jesuses
who have a good 2-month run. Immediately loan them out. I mean, they've kind of been doing that for a while, so nothing too crazy about that. But then we'll wrap it up with a big note.
Ole's at the wheel.
Ole, what are your initial thoughts?
Honestly, we should hate Man U and whatnot. It's hard to hate.
Whoa, I'm unbiased. You're the Arsenal fan, so
it's hard to hate Ole though. He's a great dude.
Yeah, always likable at Cardiff.
He's a very likable guy, and I think when he came in, a lot of people expected him to fail.
Yeah,
but what he's done is really revitalize the team, bringing in unexpected players. Obviously, you have guys like Fernandes, but think of a guy like McTominay and Luke Shaw coming back into the team, guys like that, and then also bringing in Harry Maguire. They're really rebuilding, and they're getting close to the point where they're going to be competing.
In my opinion, this is what they should have just done with Moyes.
Yeah.
Just actually giving him time, not just panic, not just replace him, not just doing that. They finally at least learned from that in terms of like, you're not going to build a culture. You're not going to build the right squad if you're constantly replacing managers.
Exactly.
You're bringing in star guys and they just get mad and you got to let them go. Just doing all that. That's not going to create any sense of culture around your club. It's not going to be attractive for guys to want to come to.
Yeah, the issue is like coming in after Sir Alex Ferguson, you're obviously just set up to fail right from the get-go.
Yeah.
You want to be in that like third spot because that's the spot where they realize, we're having a rough go.
Yeah.
And it's been rough. And then you're like, okay, this guy's a little better. It's getting better. Things are going better.
Yeah.
And your expectations have been lowered to a more realistic level of where they should be.
So you mean third guy after Sir Alex Ferguson?
Yes.
So we had Moyes. And then we had, I'm not going to count Giggs or anything. We had Louis. Louis. And then Jose.
Okay, fourth, whatever.
The fourth. I don't know about that. I think that I
They
get the
needed
first
their
part.
expectations to be lowered because their expectations were way too high.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Not to mention the squad that was left upon them by Sir Alex Ferguson. Like, it was trash.
Tom Klebs.
It was
Tom
trash.
Klebs. Darren Fletcher. Get in, son.
They've come a long way, and they're getting back to that point where they're like, okay, this is United. It's obviously nowhere near the United that we came
but it's
to know,
still a very respectable team. They're going to compete for sure for top 4. They'll be heavy favorites.
Mm-hmm.
As far as titles, I mean, Man City's just so good right now. It's hard. But, if Man City somehow took a step back, if a key guy or two got hurt.
Yeah, they're in there.
You wouldn't roll out Man U.
There's always that weird thing about Man City where you always expect them to win, but sometimes they don't always deliver.
Yeah.
So you never know.
That's the case. Exactly. And that happened with Pellegrini once or twice too. So,
but I'm just happy because he succeeded, and even in the face of doubt when people were asking for him to be sacked.
Yeah.
So I think he deserves this.
No, I think he does too. I think he's done a good job, and like we said, that's what United needed. You have to just hold for a while. You just got to even things out.
It takes a long time to. I mean, Arsenal has seen this as well. When you have the legendary manager, it's just so hard to follow that up.
So Arsenal are 2 managers away still? Arteta, someone else?
I think the thing with Arsenal is they learned the lesson from watching Man U because it's very similar. You know, you have a legendary manager leave and then you replace him and the first guy doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So, kind of like that. And you see, okay, we need to commit to this guy, give him time, give him resources.
Yeah.
And see what they can do. And Arsenal look like they may be trending upwards. So,
We'll have to see.
There was times when you could have said, we got to sack Mikel Arteta. But guess what? You get nowhere.
Yeah.
You've got to build on something.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it works out for Man U with Ole and
now, please, for the love of God, sell Paul Pogba.
I was going to say one last thing about Man U.
Yes.
Lingard.
Jay Lings.
Played today in their friendly.
Scored a goal
against QPR. They got wrecked.
Absolute legend.
Got wrecked by Queen's Park Raisins.
It happens.
What are you going to do? They're coming up for sure this year.
Hell yeah. Charlie Austin back at the wheel.
Do you think there's a move done?
I don't know if West Ham are all that keen, honestly. It seems like they haven't shown that much interest.
Or, man, you're really just going to keep him as a depth guy?
Well, no, but I feel like West Ham know
that
Man U doesn't want him.
What if they did the ultimate move of, like, someone just loans him out again? Like, Palace gets him on loan. Palace is like, all right, we'll take him.
Or maybe he is a depth piece. I don't know.
After that second half of the year, it's world class.
World class.
Should have been in the England squad.
He's going to bring the vibes to Man U. He's learned the vibes from
You know
West
why
Ham.
England lost the Euros, right?
No Jay Lings.
Yeah, no Jay Lings over Raz.
Yeah,
Dude,
clear.
could you
Clear as
imagine
day.
him if he scored in the second minute, running around doing the
the JL.
yeah. Yeah,
Legendary.
It would have been over. It would have been over.
Absolute vibes.
Any wrapping up points you want to talk about? Any predictions for this week? We talked about, I think we gave a prediction for last week's pod. I don't remember it, but I'm pretty sure we predicted a signing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was either Kabak or was it Hare, but we said the wrong team.
That's okay.
It's all that matters.
I'm just going to keep saying that Kabak is going to sign for someone. And I'm going to go with Connor Gallagher to Crystal Palace.
All right. Well, signing off for the pod this week. Until next transfer rumor roundup.
Next week. Most
Goodbye.
likely. Goodbye.